So, Protoss, what do we do with Protoss? I'm just going to quickly go over at the very beginning this time some of my choices. So I'm going to scout. Of course, I'm playing random, so it's going to get thrown off just by a tiny bit, but not too much with nice early scouting. Now, the important thing to note is if you're playing Terran, you're forced to go early Reaper. If you're playing Zerg, you're forced to go early Zealot. If you're playing Protoss, you can do whatever the hell you want, but Zealots are so strong in Protoss versus Protoss that you might as well get them. So pretty much always open with a Zealot unless you're playing Terran, and then you open with a Stalker. Okay, my enthusiasm is enthralling. And now, just for a little bit of extra information, what you do after you get your first unit out is basically if you're playing Protoss, you just go 4 gate, straight up into 4 gate. You 4 gateways, throw a bunch of units out, attack them, try and end it, as soon as possible. You can do the same thing against Terran if you want. Against Zerg, it really depends, but pretty much 4 gate robo is one of the better builds. Of course, you can do an early Phoenix harass build off of 2 gates and a Stargate, or you can do 2 gates and a robo, especially if they're going roach. If you notice that they're going ling roach, go for the immortals. Definitely. So Zerg, you definitely want to get a lot of zealots though. Some stalker sentry. That's a really good build against Zerg. Against most army is the stalker sentry with a bit of zealot. And then if they're going roaches, you go for immortals. If they're not and they're getting a lot of ground forces anyways, or you go for colossi. Colossi are great. Or even if they're going roachling, you can still go colossi. It's just that immortals own roaches in the early game. They're great units to have out early, and of course they're easier to get out than the colossi, so you can always get them and then transition into those colossi. Now of course the other option is just good old-fashioned 4 gate, and you can just hammer away at the ground forces. If they get out mutas, you can just get a lot of stalkers. Don't worry about getting those phoenixes unless you're good at microing them. I would not worry at all. If you're going against Terran, definitely if you think they're going to go with that Marine Marauder ball, perfect composition is that Stalker Sentry with a few Zealots, and then throw the Colossi on there, and boom, they are dead. Dead as can be. At least that's what usually happens for me, is I kill them quite well. And if they're going mech, you probably want to get into some Void Rays, and you can still do a bit of that Stalker Sentry armor, but definitely you want to be getting into some things like Void Rays. They do a lot of damage against the big units like Thors and Siege Tanks once they get charged up, so they're great units to be able to use. And Phoenixes can be great if they're getting a lot of Siege Tanks, so you can use that Graviton Beam to disable their Siege Tanks temporarily. And as I said, you're going against Protoss, pretty much trusty 4 gate. You can just do straight up Zealot with a charge, or you can do the Stalker Sentry, whatever, So here we go. I'm sending off my scout, and I want to get that early assimilator because, as we all know, Protoss loves gas, and they need lots of gas, but it's not from eating beans. Anyways, that was a lame joke. I am so sorry, but I'm just trying to be enthusiastic and exciting all at the same time, and it can be very hard to do all of that. So anyways, throwing down my second pylon. That is a beautiful pylon. I'm not going to call it Pylo. Okay, I am playing against Terran. So now I'm going to want to choose what build I'm going to do, and what I'm actually going to decide to do is a real easy build. I'm going to go 2 gate robo. Oops, you always want to build your cybernetics core second. Ooh, and you want to keep enough of those, and I'm going to want some gas. Now, you won't have to go super gas heavy. I should have had those guys on gas earlier, but my bad for not paying attention. As I said, I have not played in a while, so please excuse me. And I'm going to want to get up that second gateway as soon as I can, and of course you need to get that stalker out first. So usually what you do is you actually cut your first zealot, and you do not bring out that first zealot, so that way you can afford your stalker. And let's throw some guys on gas. Not super gas intensive build, but I am still going to require more Vespene gas. Jesus, that's expensive. And I am going to save my chrono boost for that, because I do not want to get owned by a Reaper in the face, because that really sucks. Now notice my wall off. I'm not using part of my pylon. I hate getting those sniped, and they don't make a great party wall off, so I'm using my other buildings, leaving that 1 space gap there. And of course, you want to make sure that you've got ample power on your building, so put that second pylon down. Ooh, caught that just in time. So now I have my first stalker out already, and now I can get that trusty zealot that we all love to see. And basically that's what I did, is I decided what my build is going to be. I'm going to stick with it now, and I'm going to keep up that build unless I get some scouting information that tells me otherwise. Now I want to save the scout a little bit longer if possible to see exactly what their build is going to be. Notice how I did try and hide up there. You can't always do that, but it's great when you can. And I failed to build something there. And let's get my Robotech out now. I don't know if that was the right time or not, because yeah, I don't really care. This is just an educational video. It's not meant to be perfect. Some sort of disclaimer I'm just saying right now. Of course, sentries are great against Terran, especially if they're doing the Marine Marauder medevac build. I'm going to scout a little bit earlier than I need to, just for the hell of it. Ooh, Marine Marauder medevac. This is awesome. So I'm going to go straight for colossi once I get out enough ground forces. And oh, I've been forgetting to chrono boost that. Too bad. Anyways, I got some decent scouting off. I can see they're definitely going Marine Marauder medevac. And that is, you know, means I'm going to get out those colossi. So let's get out that colossi tech right away. And this is finally done, so let's upgrade these. You always want to get your warp gates. So basically, if you're Protoss up one base and you're going to be pumping out of your this thingy, whatever it's called, you only want to have 2 gateways and a robo, or else 4 gateways. Otherwise, you just can't pay for everything at once. Yeah. So there we go. I picked my build and I'm going to stick with it. Of course, you want to get out a couple early observers and tell your colossi. Already, I should have thrown one out earlier than that. And I really should be building my army still, so.
We are the blades of iron.
Woohoo! Oh, and as you can see, they're already ready to attack me. So I am just going to back up and try and... No, you stupid zealot. I could lose because that zealot was so dumb. Oh, my cooldown is still active on my warp gate. So let's hope that comes out soon enough. Get my colossi. I really want to chrono boost those colossi when they're coming out. And you can also chrono boost these to be able to get the units out faster. And I don't know if it's going to be fast enough. Oh, I feel like such a noob that you had to watch me get on. Anyways, moving on. I said I was going to talk a little bit about Zerg. Sorry that I got sidetracked there. Zerg, what you can do, there's basically a couple standard openings with Zerg. If you're playing against Terrans, you have to get speedlings. Have to, because they can get that early attack on you. So basically, you're going to get your refinery a little bit early. You're going to get 100 gas and then put them back on minerals. That way you can research speedlings right away. And then basically those are Zerglings with the speed upgrade. And from there, you can either go into Hydras and Banelings or Roach Baneling. Those are the real common ones that people like to do. Now, against Terran, sort of Hydra lists seem to be the real popular one right now. Just learn what's called the magic box trick. Go search up how to do that on YouTube. And that keeps your Mutalisks from taking splash damage. And of course, those Zerglings and Banelings, very good. So you really want to learn that build order. Or of course, the other option is your Roach Hydra is another good option too, especially if you're playing against Protoss. It's a lot easier to pull off because Roaches are still really strong. Of course, they do get countered pretty well by Immortals, so do be careful about that. And you could always go Ling Roach. I was talking about that one, and I think it's a made-up build. I don't think people do that too often. But anyways, basically Zerg, you're going to only have a few options against all races to do early in the game. If you get into that late game, then you're going to get to make the decision of, do I go for the Broodlords, which are amazing against Terrans, or do I go against the Ultralisks, which are pretty damn beefy and tanky? Personally, if I'm playing Terrans, I love to get Broodlords, especially if they've gone mech. I find that Broodlord Corruptors just own Thors and siege tanks like no other. They're decent against Marine Marauder Ball, but not as good. So, you know, those Ultralisks with their beefy splash damage, pretty damn sweet against that Marine Marauder Ball. So there you go. You have a couple options for Zerg now, and you know about Protoss and Terran. And really, what it is all about is, for your race that you're playing, just know 2 builds that you like to use against each race. And as soon as you figure out what race you're playing against, go for that build, stick with it, unless you see them doing something really weird and you got to counter it. Very important. I can't stress that enough, because I play the odd game where I don't think about a build order before going in, and I just feel lost the whole game, and I really don't do as well. Hope that these videos helped. Hope that they were somewhat useful and made a lot of sense. So keep watching. I'll hopefully be bringing out some new stuff soon.